In today's episode, we're going to be investigating how to become a top-level coach and create incredible results by tapping into AI and using the correlation between software and the software of your brain. How are we doing this? We're meeting Mary Henderson, one of the best branding and business coaches on LinkedIn. Not nominated to be a top voice for no reason is because she truly walks the talk and she's a joy to be with. She's joining us now next on the show that teaches you how to jump and grow wings on the way down. This is Speak on Stage. Welcome to Speak on Stage. This is the interview part. This is my opportunity to catch up with some people who are thought leaders and really powerful in their own right. These are people I admire and people that I think when you connect with them, if you're not already connected, you will want to follow them and do business with them forever. First on this show is Mary Henderson. Now, Mary and I go back probably about 7 or 8 years when I was introduced by a mutual friend, Sahib Hassan, who said, you've got to check out what Mary's doing. She's amazing. Now, one of the things that's a big challenge is, especially on social media and LinkedIn, when somebody says you've got to look at what somebody else is doing, you're thinking, oh, I've been there before, until I saw what Mary was doing. Mary was creating incredible communities of people who wanted to raise their brand, who wanted to communicate effectively and make it all based around what they do best. Effectively, as a coach or as a business owner, you are really leaning into who you are, what you do, and creating a community around that, led by your brand. This was miles ahead of what anybody else, apart from me, of course, was doing at the time. And that's why it's so amazing when I did connect with Mary and we chatted and we instantly became best buds. And that's something that allows me to jump in every now and again and see what she's doing, connect like we've been long lost friends. And now I want to introduce to you the enigma, the rock star that is Mary Henderson. Mary, how are you?
Dave, you're so beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Honestly, I feel like I haven't seen you for so long and there's so much to catch up on. So much has happened. So I'm really looking forward to the show today.
Thank you. And I'm just wondering, when we last connected, did we start going out to play during the pandemic or before pandemic? I think it was before, but because Skype wasn't very strong, it was quite. But we would sometimes break up in the middle of chatting because the internet wasn't very good at doing all this kind of conference calls. So it's like, are you there? Are you there? Yeah, I'm still there. Well, where are you? Oh, you're back again. Oh, I'll just press a button, wind that thing up, and we'll go back on the internet. And then a pandemic happened, and it was all guns blazing, all hands on deck for both of us, I think, to really create a different version of what we were doing before for a community that was suddenly displaced and not looking for all the same things that we were offering before. So we will touch on that, but before that, I'd like to just ask you, because I know your background, because we've spoken about it at length, you're one of the foremost experts on branding and coaching on LinkedIn, but your background is being a rock star. And I'd like you to explain what that means to anybody who won't know unless they meet you, that you are a bona fide singer and musician and so on. So the floor is yours, Mary Henderson.
Oh my God. Well, that was the dream, to become a rock star. In my mind, I'm still a rock star, but it never manifested as in the real sense of being a rock star and, using your voice and traveling the world and, being able to touch people through music. And the thing is, Dave, that I love music. I really love it. I sing all the time. It's a part of who I am. We have a piano in our home. All of that is still there. But the thing that I can say to you that I haven't lost is my greatest gift, which is my voice. I'm just channeling it in a different way now. Rather than singing, I coach and speak. But I think that what we all have to realize, not just me, is that our greatest gift actually is our voice. And because of that, it's the only way we can amplify our brand. So it's not a coincidence, is it, that I was gifted with a talent to sing, and then that's gone. but the voice is still there, and now I've channeled it in another direction.
Oi, 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 oi. Rewind that, rewind that. That's gone. You just said that's gone. It hasn't gone. It's still there. But you dip into it and use it to help other people develop theirs. This is the thing about having your talent. When you and I were working together, we talked about your rockstar credentials, and when you leaned into it, you beamed and you really embraced that. So I'm going to pick you up on it because you would do the same to me. You have a talent that's still there. You choose to be Clark Kent more than Superman or Supergirl. I don't know if she is in real life. But that's a true version of you.
I love it. I love it. Look, I thank you for that. I really do appreciate it, and I love that. I just think that okay. Let me just rephrase that. I think we evolve, as humans, and you channel that talent in another way. So I still feel that I've got that, that rock chick, kind of energy about me, but it's not me singing on stage. It's me actually unpacking humans and bringing out their soul print. To me, that's the song. That's the song I get to write with the client. And, and I just think for me, that is so fulfilling. But I think that you're right. The rock star, kind of energy hasn't left. It just looks different.
Well, one of the things that's definitely true about what we do, because you and I both have entertainment backgrounds, is we lean into the next generation to help them catch up on what they need to do. So we're kind of like, I won't say we're like Yoda. I am definitely like the Morgan Freeman character in every movie he ever stars in. I'm that guy who's far too old to be there, but somehow is older and wiser and so on. Or I'm Yoda, probably closer. But here's the thing, and it's an analogy that may work with you. You compose songs that are people.
Yes.
Your entertainment side has only shifted because you are still doing the same thing, but your clients who you coach and grow, that is your symphony. And then stealing
That's
that from, what's it called? Mr. Holland's Opus, that movie.
That is so true. What you're saying is absolutely accurate. And I actually feel that. Even as you're saying it, I'm like, absolutely. That is exactly what I do. And the thing is, Dave, that it is a craft. It's not, I can see with my current cohort, in my boot camp, I've got clients in there that are well accomplished people. And, when I can help people organize all of their life experience, their personal and their professional experience, bring it together as their signature program, these people light up. They light up. And it's amazing what happens. And, I think I take it for granted. I'm sure you do as well. You just think, what do you mean? Like, this is, of course you're going to organize your information, like that's what you do. But it's not that. That's not what they're in awe of. I think that what my clients get so, it's confronting in a beautiful way, by the way. They get to see who they are in their natural state of being. And to me, that's why I call it their soul print, because when you're staring at your knowledge and wisdom, which is your currency, like black on white, suddenly you have a new respect for yourself, and I think that, that's how I write the songs, all the different songs, which are all my different clients and all of their different areas of expertise. And I really, and it comes natural to me. So it's not something that I've got to do and try hard. It's something that just naturally happens. And I love that terminology of soul print because I don't like calling it personal brand. I actually do call it your soul print. It's a completely different angle. There's more depth, there's more breadth, there's more, soul currency. There's just so much more in that than just talking about building a personal brand, which to me is just a disguise for I want to be famous. And that they're not the people that I work with.
Well, that's fascinating what you're saying about wanting to be famous, because I came to a conclusion the other day that I actually don't want to be famous. What I want is just to be recognized by the people that I want to recognize me. The idea of being
Yeah.
famous and seen everywhere and recognized everywhere, well, it would be horrible. Can't even imagine how strangers keeping an eye out on you, taking videos of you, posting it. You'd have to be on your best behavior, and that's the last thing I ever want to do. I think staying in your lane, but doing really good work in your lane is the key to all this. But I want to dig back to your origin story, because you and
Yeah.
I could talk about any subject forever, but I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
You are um, you are so effective in the fact that when you talk to your clients and you coach your clients, they can see that they're with somebody who's done it and is doing it for them. It's very important to be able to do that. But where did that come from? Because what point was it that you decided, I'm good at what I do, but there's something inside that needs to be out, that needs to be bigger, needs to be stronger? And that's often something that's really difficult to find. Did you have a mentor that changed that, or did you manage to come to those conclusions yourself? Let's go back in time, if you don't mind. I'd like to ask you about your origin story.
When I talk about my origin story, I always look at my timeline and I say, where in my timeline do I want to start my origin story? And I don't want to start it when I was 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, because there's a lot of trauma that I experienced in my childhood, and 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 all of that has been resolved. But actually, my origin story, Dave, started in 2012. That's really that was the precipice that really made Mary open up and say, "There's got to be something else than this." So my origin story started when I built my own software company, which I owned for 7 years, from ground up into seven figures, and I fell rock bottom, and I mean literally rock bottom. And so I gave birth to my son in September 2011, and I knew 3 hours after he was born that I was going to resign from my own company. Like, I was done. I just knew. And anyway, so we left the hospital 2 weeks after. I had a meeting with my accountant, and I said, I'm resigning from my own company. And he's like, oh, you've just got you're hormonal. You don't know what you're talking about. And I said, no, I actually do know what I'm talking about. And I just don't want to be here anymore. I need to just walk away. He said, you cannot walk away from a company that has an infrastructure that's turning over seven figures. It's just not going to, you can't do that. And I said, well, let's find a company that we can merge with or sell it, because I need to leave. Thankfully, we did that. And in January 2012, I was free. And for the first time, Dave, as an adult, it was the first time that I did not work. I've always worked, literally from the age of 15, 16. I've always had like a part-time job after school, uni. I've had a job. I've never not worked. So this was a very different experience. And then I remember on that first day when I was not working, I walked over to my Mac and I Googled, how do I change my life? And I was watching all these TED Talks. All these TED Talks appeared. And there was this one mentor who was a professor in philosophy, and he just showed up, and I watched his TED Talk, and I was like, that's the guy who's going to mentor me. I need him, because I didn't want self-help. And I didn't want personal development. I mean, personal development from the standpoint of a guru telling me what to do. In other words, keep using your mind to do things so that you can believe that change is happening. That's not what I was after. I really wanted profound change. And I knew that I needed somebody that was going to, be able to take me on that journey. So my mentor, who was a professor in philosophy at Oxford University, very academic, but took me on a path of the hero's journey, like it quite literally, and helped me unpack that, because as he was mentoring me, I was on that hero's journey, and I had already experienced different aspects of it, But, you know, I got to that point where I met my mentor, and that mentor took me on this pathway. And what's interesting is that I learned a lot of ancient principles and philosophies and strategies and very, very ancient Kabbalistic, philosophies that I still use today. But what is interesting is that mentor, and I had another mentor who was an expert in the emotional body, both of them said, we can give you all of the wisdom, but you have to experience it. Otherwise, it's not wisdom. You're just going to take what we give you, but you're not going to experience it. And I really struggled with that at first, because I thought, well, what am I paying you for? Like, isn't that what you're supposed to be doing? You know, giving me all the answers. And it's not until now that I understand what that means truly. And but Mark, who was the professor in philosophy, he started by taking me on this journey, and he said, I want you to write about the first 21 years of your life in first person. And I don't want you to write it as in force. I need you to write in freehand and let the soul write. And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? And it took me weeks, Dave, to actually just allow for whatever was meant to happen to actually happen. And then I remember it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and I was like, I had this urge to write, and I just started writing, and I just couldn't stop. And he was right. You know, it wasn't me writing, it was the soul writing. But through that writing, and I'm sharing this story because it's very important to what I do now, through that writing, I was able to go back, read it all, but coming from a software background and we developed algorithms, of course I was going to take all of that information, because I wasn't allowed to write it in an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document. I had to write it in lead pencil in a book, in a journal. And then I took that information, I plotted all of the information in an Excel spreadsheet, and I started to see patterns. When I was happy, all of this was happening. When I was sad and angry and miserable and scared and uncertain, all of this was happening. So I looked at all of that as data, and then I started to realize through his mentoring, oh my God, like I am so out of my natural state of being. Because when I was in my natural state of being, I was on stage, I was singing, I was writing music, I did have my earphones on, I was immersed in the things that I really loved. And so that was kind of that. So my origin story actually starts from that point, and that unfolded so much. And you know, Dave, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the only way I can describe it, because I haven't stopped using that philosophy, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And it's one of those things, without asking about your age, which I'm sure is still 21, when you look at the fact that it took such a long time to get to that stage, and then you reached out to get a mentor. Some people, I don't think, ever get to that stage because the pain is not enough. They kind of deal with it, go through it, but find their lives unfulfilled, but don't know where the problem is. So when you went through that epiphany and you decided, this is it, I've got to change things, I've got to alter it, I don't know where I'm going to start, but I'm going to do something about it. There was a change, there was a shift in you. What was that change and shift? Because you've talked about the end results. You've talked about the fact that the outside version of you and what it was you wrote down and all the rest of it. But internally, there must have been something that you couldn't stay the way you were before. And it must have been, for a long period of your life, that thing you addressed had been part of who you are, or you ignored it, and then it all came to a head. What was that?
That's a very important question that you've just asked, because, and this is not something that I learned in that 12 months through that mentoring. This is an evolution of truly understanding my obsession. Well, I started, I started having an obsession with understanding how the mind works. And so the thing that Mark and my other mentor were teaching me was the balance between masculine and feminine energies. And I didn't really understand it through all of that mentoring. I intellectually understood it, but I hadn't experienced it, if that makes sense. What I understood, at that time, the internal journey was the battle that I was having with myself all this time. It was not the external world. It wasn't my mom, my dad, even though the trauma stemmed from there. Forget that. That's just generational trauma that keeps getting passed down generation after generation. So I'm not angry with them for that. I totally am in forgiveness. There's no problem there. But what I was angry with myself, Dave, because I had made really bad decisions, bad choices, bad relationships. Just everything in my life was just such an uphill battle. But what I realized is that the demon and the hero were two sides of the same coin. Inside myself, I was constantly fighting with Mary. And realistically, what I leaned into and eventually truly understood it was the power of our mind and the tricks that it plays on us. And I think for me, Dave, I just feel that this is my core purpose in this world is to actually understand how to overcome the mind, because it has been a battle, a massive battle. I think all of us struggle with that because we've all been traumatized in some shape or form. The school system is just atrocious and just constantly pulls us back into being little, limited, can't do, can't be, can't have. And you have to have massive self-awareness to be able to question your existence, your reason for being, your purpose, your mission. Who am I? What am I doing here? These really big questions. So I went on a mission to truly understand how to not conquer, how to work with my mind in peace and harmony, how to nurture it and how to make it feel safe. Rather than my mind telling me you can't be, you can't do, you can't have. Now I find it hilarious because I just call it the bully. So when it does say to me, oh, who do you think you are? I'm like, hello, talk to my hand. It ain't going to happen today. And it's funny that when you start to realize the simplicity in overcoming the trauma and the shadows that all of us carry day in and day out, and worse still, we worship the shadow. We put all of our energy in what doesn't work. We put all of our energy in worshiping the mind and what it's telling us through our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs every single day, rather than saying, who is talking to me? Who's chattering in my mind? Who is saying all of that? Who's directing all of that? Who's deciding all of that? And we've got to get to that point where you can actually ask those type of questions to be able to start to see freedom in the truest sense, because to me, that is true freedom. And what it's done is it's changed everything in my life, the way I parent, the way I show up, my relationships, my tolerance level, things that I'm not interested in, things that I'm interested in. And this whole thing, when you look at social media, it's the same thing. It's the worship of the mind. It's the ego, that needs constant validation. And I don't need that. I have no interest in that at all. And so I think that when I look at the origin of my story, which is back in 2012, that's 11 years ago. It's a long time, but it's taken 11 years for me to arrive at this point where I can say to you, Dave, I get it. Like, I understand what my mentors were saying, that Mary, we can give you all the information, but you have to experience it. They were 100% accurate.
That's brilliant, and thank you for being so honest about it, because I want to ask you a follow-on question to that, which is, could it have happened earlier for you? And if it had happened, what difference would that have made for you?
I think everything can happen earlier or later, but I do also believe that our lives are divinely orchestrated. I truly do believe that. I feel that had I experienced what I know now, 10 years before 2012, I don't think that I would be who I am today, because in the last 12 years, there have been a lot of other lessons that have been so crucial to who I've become. So I would never have wanted to leave that part out, even though it was painful at the time and it was a struggle and all of that stuff. Looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. So what if I missed out on all of that? Then who would I be? So I don't see it like that at all, because that implies then, you regret? No, absolutely not. I absolutely embrace my age. I embrace where I'm at. Everything is just so perfect the way it is right now.
So, with that in mind, the question for me to ask you is, now you've got this epiphany, now that 11, 12 years ago, you reinvented who you are, you decided where you're going to go, what you're going to be, all these different questions, you now have an opportunity to take that forward faster than you ever would have done if you were not sure who you are. Where does that take you? Where is the end goal for you? Because I watch you doing incredible stuff on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You're creating this community of really sharp coaches who idolize you. It's not a cult following, could be, but it's not. It's that they really do love the way that you create stuff because you've empowered them. But is that the end game, just to bring out new coaches, or is this about something that you need to do for you? Ultimately, when will you know you've reached it, and what will it be?
I just don't think that there is a full stop. I really don't. I believe that there's evolution, because, Dave, if I look at my business today versus what it was 12 months ago, even 6 months ago, it's completely changed. Completely. And that's because I'm evolving. And because I'm evolving, everything in my reality has to evolve as well. So I always ask myself, like a movie producer would ask themselves when they're writing a movie, a writer that's writing a movie script. The hero always has an outer motivation. It's one of the questions that a producer would ask himself or herself. What is the outer motivation of the hero? And I think that my outer motivation is freedom. Like, that's it. I am a freedom fighter. Everything in my life has to come back to that. Truth and freedom is what I stand for. Therefore, and I think that is why my content is so raw. It's to the point. There's no, smoke and mirrors. It's just, here it is. You either take it or you leave it. But also with the people I work with, so which is why I go through such a strict qualification process, because if you're going to come to me and say, I want to be famous on Instagram, I would be saying, I can't help you and I don't want to help you. But if you come to me and say, I have 30 years of experience of working in corporate America or academia, and I really, really want to start my, entrepreneurial journey, you've got my attention, because I value wisdom. For me, wisdom is the truest, purest currency in the world. And how do we solve complex problems in the world? Wisdom. We're not going to solve it with a 20-year-old Instagram influencer who's in their bikinis. That ain't going to solve, a global crisis. It's all noise. I'm talking about people who genuinely can solve global issues because they genuinely have the expertise, the experience, the knowledge, the skill set, and the wisdom. So I'm passionate about that space. Where do I take that? I don't know. What I'm getting involved with now in a massive way, and again, this is the evolution because of the way that my brain thinks, which is like an algorithm, is that now I'm moving into AI in a really profound way. But what it's doing is what would normally take me 2, 3, 4 weeks to complete is now taking me 7 minutes. So do you see, the evolution of the world and is actually helping me grow as a person and my business, which means I can help a lot of other people. I don't have an end goal. I just really don't, but I have an outer motivation, which is freedom. And that's all I'm after, true in the truest form. I think that I've achieved that in myself. I feel very free in myself, emotionally, spiritually, in my mind. I feel very, very free. But that's been a work in progress, and also something that I have dedicated hours every single day in contemplation, in journaling, in just sitting in stillness and in quietness to actually just receive the information that I need in order to help me move forward. So it's been a discipline, a real discipline, and I have never let go of that discipline. But through it all, I can say to you that my outer motivation is to just continue to ensure that I truly achieve freedom in its totality.
I think you're so right. One day, when it's our final hour, they'll switch off our LinkedIn account and nobody will know
Yes,
and nobody will care what happened on
correct.
social media. And if we're lucky, the people we know might remember, but they've got a busy day ahead and they've got other things to concentrate on. So it's that journey of getting to the end result. One thing I came up to, well, I experienced as a great way of dealing with this is rather than chasing happiness, chase contentedness. Your ability to,
Yeah,
you know what, I'm all right. I don't have to be over there. I don't have to be like these people here. I don't have to feel terrible lows to know that I'm rising above it. I'm just able to go, you know what, I've got a glass of water here. Yeah, it could be champagne, but it's not, it's water. I could put some ice in, I could put some juice in, and I can drink it. I can watch Netflix, I can go for a walk. That's not bad. Maybe that's as good or as bad as it gets. But I can raise my game, but some days I don't want to. I think the ability to be content for the rest of your life is a major plus. Cheers, by the way.
yeah, I actually agree with you on that as well. And also, can I just add to that? Happiness and peace is our natural state of being. And I heard someone describe this the other day, and I just loved it. It was like there's always a blue sky. Blue sky represents happiness and peace, and the cloud is actually what blocks us from actually seeing the blue sky. And that's where the mind starts getting involved. You're this, you're not good enough, you're a bad person, you didn't get your 400 likes, so that means that your post is not good enough, blah, blah, blah. So all those clouds are actually hiding what already exists. So we've got to me, that's my ultimate goal. It's like get rid of as many grey clouds and just get to that blue sky and live in that blue sky, period. That's it. And I think everything just stems from that space.
That's amazing. It's been a pleasure spending time with you as always, Mary. It's a shame we have to do it in blue sky, but if we're going to do it in the blue sky, we'll do it there or internet or anything else that comes along. Thank you so much for your time. You are an incredible thought leader. Continue to do that and also spread the joy and the happiness that you do, changing lives as I've experienced myself and I see you do all the time. Every time I look at your groups and the posts and the people that interact, I know they get it. And it's great to see that
Yes.
you are still enjoying your adventure as well.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. There you go, the incredible, wonderful Mary Henderson. You must connect with her on social, especially LinkedIn, and check out her courses, check out the boot camps, but also check out who she is as an incredible leader. We've got some more great leaders coming up on future episodes of Speak on Stage. These are the interviews with the people that really matter, creating a brand, making a difference, and also enjoying life. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Look forward to catching you again soon on Speak on Stage.